there. How are you today?
Yo, I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me.
Of
Are
course,
you a
happy to be
Gen
here.
Z or are you a millennial? What's your designation?
Well, I'm currently an undergraduate student, so
Okay. All right. So you're legit. Right on.
oh yeah,
All right, Ainsley. All right. Let's get some background on you. Let's get some bio on you. Take it away.
fantastic. So I am currently an undergraduate student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Go Tar Heels. I am on the pre-med track, so I'll hopefully be in medical school in the next 10 years or so. Yeah, I what other things? What other things y'all would want to know about me?
Well, I think that's really good. It's tough to get into. My grandfather was a doctor, so I get
Awesome.
I get how difficult like medical terminology and that that responsibility
Mhm.
is to take your career and your life that way. Where do you want to go in your career? What kind of goals do you want to accomplish?
Well, I've recently become really interested in menstrual health, menstrual equity, and maternal health care, things like that. So I don't exactly have a specific field that I'm interested in terms of medicine, or that I'm planning on, but those are some things that I'm really interested in because I've been doing some research, and it's fascinating that even in this day and age, we think medicine is so advanced. Um, Maternal deaths, maternal mortality are still very high, and it's because of preventable, a lot of preventable causes. So that's something I've recently become really interested in, and something that I want to learn more about and hopefully get more involved in, and to make a difference in that realm.
You know what I want, Ainsley? I want a full body, full spectrum, full neuro, full chemical test every year to know if I have cancer somewhere or not, or like will in the next 10 years, or
Hmm.
ALS, God forbid, or, just like an update on my brain. Maybe like the neurons are pumping at 80%, or my breathing, just to have like a full body, full scale, easy, like this is how my body is right now kind of thing.
I think that's the beauty of science. We are constantly learning more about how our bodies are working. So
Yeah.
Um, while there isn't technology right now that could tell you, everything that's happening in your body, there are thousands, millions of researchers out there every day working towards discovering what's going on inside of us, and that fascinates me so much about science, and particularly medicine.
Yeah, and there's the scientific theorem, right? Or is it scientific theory or theorem? I don't know.
Scientific method.
Method. That's the one. Yeah, the scientific method. There's a proven workflow to get something to know if it's real or not, kind of thing, or
Exactly.
if it's just a theory.
Exactly.
Okay, so Ainsley, what's the big thing with you?
Yeah, of course. So I consider myself a STEMinist. I don't know if you've ever heard the term before. I recently got introduced to it. Essentially, it's what it sounds, feminist who is really passionate, particularly about empowering women in STEM. So that's something, as I've entered the next stage of my career journey and my professional journey, that's something, part of my identity that I've been really working
So
to
what's
develop.
STEM? What's STEM for people that don't know?
Yeah, so STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. Sometimes you'll also see it with another M for medicine. Um, but that's essentially my mission as a STEMinist in particular is to shed light on the voices of women and the stories, because something that I feel is a big issue in today's society is that we just don't talk about things. We there's a lot of organizations and such that are trying to get girls interested in STEM and career exploration. You may have heard of Girls Who Code, for instance, or just programs that try and tell girls, these are the different careers you can take. But something that I think hasn't been addressed as much is once you get into that STEM career, then and then you're sort of left on your own. There's never any sort of follow-up of like, when you do inevitably encounter gender bias, how do you remedy that? Things like that.
As someone that wants to work in medicine and stuff, how do you cope like that? How do you work with those different personalities?
Exactly, that's the thing. You have to learn that everybody has a different perspective. And one of the pieces of, or you know, and that's why we need to have these conversations, because we can't just live in our own little world, our own little bubble, and say, you know, this is how I believe the world is, and that's how it should be. If we want to make change for you know, I'll just say women in particular, because that's my area of focus. If we want to see change for women in STEM, we need to have these conversations so that people who maybe didn't realize the struggles that women are facing can be exposed to them. Like, if you've never realized that, just how much of a burden childcare can be for women, like that's something that we need to talk about more so people can understand why we need
When you
change.
say childcare, you mean daycare or like actually having a child?
Both. There's, you know, in the U.S., for instance, there is no official policy regarding like childcare leave. So, you know, things like that that we just need to get talked about more. That so there's an organization that's, it's you know, like insurance for at least a year after having a kid or something like that. Just to acknowledge that women are needing assistance and they aren't getting it.
If it's recognized that the assistance is needed, then the assistance should be had. But it takes strong people to figure that out. As simple as it seems,
That's fair.
just to acknowledge that, because that's like a post in the road. That's not moving. That's real.
Exactly. And I think it takes um, somebody to be that person, take the first step and be brave and speak out, because you know, as in with any issue, it's hard to speak out. It's hard to be the first one, but once you have that first voice, then others can see, oh, I feel the same way. It's not just me who's been feeling this way. And so then you can start to build momentum.
Yeah. Oh, yes. The momentum was so strong, I dropped everything in my hand. That was pretty cool. That was a cool connection. But yeah, as long as you love what you're doing and you totally believe in what you're doing, that momentum becomes even stronger. It becomes spiked and it goes and goes and goes until it doesn't. And sometimes you hit a wall. Have you ever hit a wall when you're trying to go top tier and give women's rights as much volume as you can? Have you just hit a wall and just been like, yikes, this is tough?
Definitely, you know, I've been working through that actually just right now. So one of the organizations that I'm involved with, we're working on building a mentorship program. And one of the things that are, yeah, for high school girls in STEM, focusing not so much on, you know, careers, but on having these conversations about these struggles that women face and how we can conquer them. Um, and so one of the challenges that we've definitely been having is, you know, we have this program built. We have the uh, we have the women lined up. I think the main thing that we need is changing the workspace culture. There's a lot of implicit bias and that's still pervasive in the workplace that needs to be addressed. I've had a lot of conversations with lots of different women about this, and one thing that I've definitely seen a lot is changing the way that we perceive women's abilities and women's strengths. Because, for instance, you know, women bring empathy to the workplace. That's something, a strength that we bring. But a lot of times there's this pressure to you know, to be more masculine, to not be empathetic because it's seen as a weakness. It's seen as, oh, you know, women are too emotional. We can't handle things. And so a lot of the issues and a lot of the change that needs to happen in the workplace and just in society in general is connected to sort of these abstract implicit things that are a lot harder to change. So you know, the pressure to be perfect, the pressure to um, suppress your femininity and to blend in with the male dominated workspaces. These are the things that need to be changed most. But these are also the hardest things to change because it starts with changing mindsets. And of course, you know, changing how people think is literally the hardest thing ever.
Yeah, that's a whole different mindset. But to be educated on both sides, all perspectives on it, and for a person to be able to make their own educated decision with the best info, I think that's the way to go either way.
Exactly. And that goes back to the idea of just talking about these things. We need to get as much knowledge out there as we can so that nobody is left wondering.
The conversation needs to be had. The words need to be said. And once that's out there in our new medium, this is our medium of communication now. This is
Exactly.
where things are moving very quickly, very quickly. Like it's like I get sucked into different conversations, emails, like just everything's so fast between Clubhouse, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it may be. You know, it's fast, and then it stops. And it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, I was talking with someone the other day about the beauty of social media and that it's really allows everybody to have a space to share their voice. But then, there's that downside also of um, just as easily as you can share your voice, you can also get attacked for your opinions. You can get so much backlash.
You got to be prepared to put yourself out there and represent yourself as you want it to be represented.
Exactly, I
You
completely
know what I
agree.
mean? Like for me, I do different shows. And for me, broadcasting like this, it's partly character mode almost. Sometimes not so much with the interview with you, Ainsley, right now. This is a cool vibe. And shout out to everybody in the chat if you're out there. It's cool to hang with you. How old are you?
I'm an undergraduate, so
You're an undergraduate, so 20, 22, or 24. Somewhere in your 20s, I'm assuming. It's probably rude of me to ask. I apologize. But I just want to get the idea. So, like, you're just going to go PhD? Are you going to go emergency room physician? Where you want to be a politician? What's your goal here?
so
What are we going to watch you do over the years?
so on the track for med school, I'll graduate college, and then go into med school to get my MD, and then beyond that, perhaps also PhD. I'm not exactly sure yet, but definitely an MD.
That's wild. That's so much. You're setting yourself up for so many things. But man, if you can accomplish all that,
Thank you. It's been my plan since as long as I can remember to go to med school. It's always been. I can't imagine myself doing anything else because medicine to me is the most extraordinary way to give back to the world because you're devoting your life to preserving and protecting the lives of others. And I can't think of a more noble mission.
it's the most noble, the most important, the most responsibility thing in the world. Your life, you have people's lives in your hands
Absolutely.
every day, multiple times a day, like that. Most respect. My whole family's in medicine. I went into health insurance. It was a wrong move, but I respect the hell out of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when something goes bad or something, we're all very quick, like because you never know when the emergency is going to happen.
Right. What kind of fields
Never
are
know.
they in?
My grandfather was a respected doctor. My grandma was a nurse. My dad's a nurse. My brother's a nurse.
Wow.
My mom's respiratory therapist. Anybody else? Oh yeah, I have a couple cousins that are nurses too.
Wonderful.
A lot of nurses. Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for them. That's a really needed profession.
What can we get out that you got any good tweets or TikToks that you've put out that we can get out there for you?
Well, I do have a YouTube channel. It's called The Other Half. And essentially, I interview different women in STEM about topics that I feel like don't get talked about much. Things like I just released an interview with a woman where we were discussing developing your own leadership style and how you can make your voice matter and make your voice heard in the workplace because I'm sure we've all had that feeling of do I actually matter? Like is anybody actually listening to me? So that's one of the things that we really touched upon, and she offered some great tips about what you can do to make your voice matter. So I highly recommend checking out that video. I'll be releasing more throughout the uh, continuing on, just to again try and get those stereotypes shattered and those issues talked about. I have another interview with a woman named Dr. Shini Samara where we were talking about all sorts of things, everything from how to accept who you are and be grateful for what you've done, and not be so tied to perfectionism, things like, just things like that. So definitely check out my channel. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. It's called The Other Half. um, and is there a place where I could like put my social media handles, or could chat or something? Awesome.
Ainsley, what's something I can do to help you by being on the podcast right now? Like, what's something that we can all do to help you? Is there something we can retweet or?
Well, it'd be great if y'all could help get my message out there, get garner some more visibility for my channel and for the work that I'm doing, because um, that's the only way that we can make a difference, by taking collective action, and spreading the word about these things. So, I
What
just
is the message, Ainsley? Tell us right now. What is the message? I gotta know.
we need to talk about these things. We need to talk about the issues that women in STEM are facing. We need to break these stigmas that have been silencing our voices for too long. And the only way we can do that is through lifting up these voices and being allies. And even if you are not a woman in STEM, even if you're not a woman, you can still do something for women in STEM. You can still be an ally. You can still raise up our voices, and you can still make change. So we need to talk about these things. We need to start talking, and we need to start acting.
Talk the talk, walk the walk. That's the deal. And that's what you got to do to get anything done, apparently. That's what I'm learning. But I'm behind you. I'm about rights for everybody. I think everyone should just be equal. What do you like to do for fun? You're a gamer?
I've never been much of a gamer. I do enjoy reading. I like reading, particularly current event news, things like that. I like getting outside. I think that sometimes just going for a walk, and walking through, um, and you're just immersing yourself in nature.
Having great conversation back and
And
forth.
that's awesome to hear. It goes exactly with my philosophy about how we need to have conversation. We need to, because there's so much knowledge out there. People just don't know it exists. The thing about the internet is that you're like, oh, the internet's out there. You can just Google it. But there's so much out there still that you have to know how to Google it in order to find it. So just I love talking with people. I love networking because you're always learning something new. You always, like, just yesterday I was talking with somebody, and I learned a little bit more about menstrual health and menstrual equity than I learned before. And I was like, this is why I love talking with people, because everybody has their own experiences and their own understanding of the world, and we all can, um, and by talking with each other, we can mutually benefit. We can each expand our perspectives a little bit more.
Right. I agree with you wholeheartedly. If I honestly, I'd give you a hug and a high five too, because honestly, that was so deep and from the heart. And I believe that stuff too. Just like the advancement. It's like with AI. People are afraid as hell of AI. I think we should like be chill with AI. That should be part of this evolution of like getting things done. Things that Siri's never been able to get done for us on the iPhone.
The kind of the mind bending conversations that we could have about some of the advances in science in particular are so fascinating.
String theory, going into quantum.
Hmm.
I find that stuff just it's amazing.
And like I think we were talking about this before, it's just the beauty of science. There is so much out there, and I think that that's one of the reasons why, going back to my mission, that's why we need more women in STEM, because STEM is the future. And to have women not be a part of this of the progress that we're making towards the future, I think is a detriment to society, because women bring such unique perspectives and such a different approach to many of the issues that our world is currently facing, that if we don't include women in the conversations, we are really hurting ourselves. There's research that um, you know workspaces with more women are more successful because we bring a different perspective. And I don't want to say we, as making assumptions about all women, but I do think that there is a point where you can say women have a different perspective. Women are advantageous, and it's advantageous to have women in the workplace, and particularly in STEM. So the fact that women are not represented in these fields is really not just hurting society in terms of equality, but it's also hurting us in terms of moving forward. Ada Lovelace, she was the one who invented pretty much coding. There are so many contributions that women made to STEM that just don't get talked about, and there should continue to be contributions that women make. So that's why we need to have
So what
women.
happens after women conquer STEM? What's next for women?
I mean, I don't think there's ever really a stopping point. I think we can always continue to improve. I mean, for instance, you could say, women technically have the right to vote, but there is still so much surrounding the ability to exercise that right, the ability to, and then once you bring in the other nuances of what it means to be able to vote and such, there is always more that we can do, and um, I think it's just a question of continuing to move forward and continuing to make strides towards equality.